The applause was deafening. A sea of flashing cameras lit the stage like fireworks as the massive screen behind the podium glowed with the word, Neuralark, the future of emotionally intelligent AI. Standing in the wings, Elena Zhao adjusted the neckline of her ivory silk dress, heart pounding beneath layers of composure. This was her moment. 3 years of sleepless nights, rejected grants, code rewritten through tears, and simulations run on dying hope. And today the world would finally see it. Her AI. Her vision. Elena, whispered one of the PR assistants, a clipboard clutched nervously to her chest. Mr. Liu is about to begin the reveal. Elena smiled politely. Thank you, she said, though her eyes remained on the center of the stage. Lucian Liu, CEO of Liu Dynamics, tech titan, and her husband, stepped forward into the spotlight. Charismatic, polished, every bit the visionary the public adored. For a moment, she admired him. Despite everything, the man she'd once fallen in love with behind lines of tangled code, who had held her hand when they first dreamed of revolutionizing AI together. But then he spoke. This project, he said, his voice smooth and commanding, is the culmination of brilliance, passion, and relentless innovation. A dramatic pause. And the mind behind this? Allow me to introduce our lead developer and head of emotional modeling, Serena Lin. The lights shifted. Applause. And just like that, Elena's world tilted. Out walked Serena, tall and poised in a red sheath dress that clung to her like a challenge. Her dark eyes scanned the crowd, then flicked toward Elena, just for a second, with the faintest smirk playing on her lips. The breath caught in Elena's lungs. The room didn't spin. It shattered. The crowd erupted. Lucian smiled, as if the AI hadn't been born from Elena's own hands, her mind. As if Serena hadn't joined the project just 4 months ago and already wormed her way into everything, into Lucian's bed, into Elena's algorithms. Elena took a single step back, her heels suddenly too loud on the polished floor. A cameraman brushed past her. One of the reporters turned to whisper, "Wasn't she his wife? I thought she was the real engineer." She turned. The whisper followed her. "Then why isn't she on stage?" Lucian never even glanced her way. Serena took the mic. "Thank you, Lucian. Neuralark is a dream I've held since the beginning of my career, an AI that doesn't just compute but feels. With this system, we'll be changing not just technology, but humanity." Elena felt it then, not shock, but something colder, sharper. Betrayal. The screen behind Serena began to play a demonstration video. The crowd oohed. Elena stood frozen at the edge of the shadows, fists clenched at her sides. That algorithm. That interface. She had built it, every node, every adaptive script for her emotional response. There was even a flicker in the animation she recognized, a bug she hadn't finished patching. She was watching her own unfinished code on a global broadcast. Her vision. Stolen. Backstage, she found him. Lucian was leaning against a wall, sipping champagne like he hadn't just set fire to the last 3 years of her life. When he saw her, he didn't flinch. "Elena," he said smoothly, as if they hadn't shared a home. "A bed. A marriage." "You lied," she said, voice dangerously calm. He tilted his head. "I repositioned. It's business." She stared at him. "You repositioned your wife's life's work under your mistress' name?" "Careful," he said, his tone low. "This isn't the place." "No, Lucian," she replied, louder, fire licking at her throat. "This is exactly the place." People nearby began to glance over. A few phones lifted, recording. "Don't do this," he warned. "You'll regret it." She stepped closer. Her voice shook now, not from fear, but from heartbreak. "I handed you my trust, my project, my love, and you handed it to someone who barely knows how to write a parser." Lucian's jaw tightened. "You were emotional, unstable. You almost killed the funding last quarter." Serena brings clarity. "I brought soul." Her voice cracked. "You gutted the soul out of it, Lucian. Just like you gutted us." The silence between them was nuclear. And then, "Elena," She turned. One of the reporters was nearby, breathless. Is it true? That Neuralark's original creator isn't Serena, but you? Lucien stepped forward. No comment. But Elena met the reporter's eyes. Then she reached into her clutch and pulled out a small flash drive. The real Neuralark, she said, her voice clear, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear, was never designed to be a corporate stunt. I still have the final version. With empathy mapping Serena couldn't even understand. Gasps. Cameras turned. Lucien reached for the drive. She pulled back. Watch me, she said. You're not the only one who can host a press conference. She turned and walked away, heels clicking like gunshots. Lucien stood frozen, the champagne in his hand now warm and forgotten. The silence in the elevator was brutal. Elena stood at the back, arms crossed, the USB drive clenched so tightly in her fist it left an imprint in her palm. Her reflection stared back at her in the mirrored walls, flawless makeup, dress still elegant, but beneath it all, fire and fury. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. You just made a very public mistake. Pull back now, Elena. No name, but she didn't need one. Lucien never could resist controlling things from behind mirrored glass. The doors opened. She stepped out into the lobby of her old company, Lu Dynamics, the very space she had helped design with Lucien when they were still partners in love and code. Now she was just a ghost walking back into a war zone. Ms. Zhao. The receptionist blinked up from her screen. You're not scheduled. I don't need to be, Elena replied coldly, walking past without waiting for permission. Eyes followed her. Whispers bloomed. She's back. Didn't she get replaced? Why is she here? Elena marched into the central auditorium where the post-launch investor meeting was already underway. Executives and engineers sat in rows of steel chairs. The air was thick with arrogance and champagne. Lucien stood on stage. Beside him, Serena glowed, perfect smile, designer heels, fake brilliance. Elena, Lucien's voice dropped when he saw her. Don't do this here. She didn't stop walking until she reached the front row. She plugged the USB into the main control terminal on the wall. Gasps echoed as the screen behind Lucien flickered, then shifted. Gone was the generic Neuralark branding. In its place, a sleek interface pulsing with real-time emotion mapping. Complex, adaptive, alive. Her version. The AI Serena presented, Elena said, loud enough for the microphone to catch, was based on my beta prototype. What you're seeing now is the completed model, the real Neuralark, capable of interpreting emotion across culture, tone, silence, and movement. This is the soul of the project. She stepped back. The AI came to life on screen, an avatar with human-like subtlety in its expressions. It read the room, responded to facial cues, adjusted its tone. It felt real. A wave of stunned silence hit. One of the top investors stood up. Why wasn't this version presented today? Lucien's lips parted, but no words came. Serena tried to speak. This model, it's too advanced for you to understand? Elena offered calmly. A ripple of laughter. The tide was turning. Lucien's voice finally emerged, sharp. You had no right to do this, Elena. This is proprietary company property. Wrong, she cut in. I hold the IP rights to this version. Dated and notarized before you added Serena to the team. And I have the legal proof. She pulled a manila envelope from her purse and dropped it on the table in front of the board. Lucien's jaw locked. His composure cracked for the first time in public. Later, in the hallway, he caught up to her, grabbing her arm. What the hell was that? She yanked away. That was me taking back what was mine. His voice lowered. You just humiliated me in front of the entire board. Good. Now you know how it feels. Lucien looked at her. Really looked, and for a second the CEO mask slipped. Elena, I didn't plan to give her credit. It happened fast. Investors wanted flash, and You chose her, Lucien. Not just over me, but over the truth. His eyes flicked away, guilty. Elena's voice softened, but only slightly. You didn't just betray our marriage. You betrayed the work we built together. The dream. Lucien stepped closer. You think I don't wake up every day regretting how fast everything spiraled? I don't care what you regret, she said, still returning to her tone. This was never just about you and me. This was about respect. And today, I took mine back. She walked away, leaving him standing there, shadows swallowing his figure. That night, the video of her AI demonstration had gone viral. Social media dubbed her the woman behind the machine. Hashtags trended. Hashtag real creator, hashtag neural queen, hashtag justice for Elena. Investors called. Rival firms reached out. A TED Talk invite landed in her inbox. She stood on the balcony of her new apartment, far from the luxury penthouse she once shared with Lucien. Alone, but not empty. Her phone buzzed again. Lucien, you won today. But we're not finished. She stared at the screen. Elena, typing. No, Lucien. We've only just begun. It was raining when he showed up. The soft thud of knuckles against glass echoed into the quiet apartment. Elena froze, her fingers still hovering over her laptop's keyboard. Rain slid down the windows like teardrops on a screen. A chill ran down her spine, not from the weather, but from the certainty she already knew who it was.
Lucien.
She crossed the room slowly, barefoot, unsure why her heart was pounding so hard. When she pulled the curtains aside, there he was, drenched in a black suit, hair slicked to his forehead, eyes locked on hers through the rain-smeared pane. She didn't move. He knocked again, this time softer. Elena, he said through the glass. Please. The door creaked open. Lucien stepped inside without waiting for permission. The storm trailed behind him, wet footprints on the hardwood, the scent of rain and regret clinging to his skin. I should have called, he said quietly. You shouldn't have come, she replied, arms crossed. But she hadn't stopped him. And they both knew it. I saw your interview with TechSphere, he said, eyes scanning the dimly lit apartment. It was modern minimalist. Nothing like the luxury penthouse they used to share. They called you the future of ethical AI. She said nothing, just raised an eyebrow. You always were, he added. Elena turned her back to him. Then why did you treat me like a footnote? Lucien's voice was quiet. Because I was stupid. Because I was scared. She let out a bitter laugh. Scared of what? That I'd outshine you? Or that you actually loved me? The silence between them tightened like a noose. You made it impossible for me to be your partner, he finally said, stepping closer. You stopped letting me in. Every time I tried, you were locked in with that machine. That machine was the only thing that didn't lie to me, she snapped. Her voice cracked in the quiet room, the storm outside roaring in agreement. He closed his eyes, jaw clenched. You think I didn't love the way your mind worked? The way you could see the future in code? God, Elena, I admired you so much it terrified me. She turned to face him. Then why her? Lucien hesitated, and for once, the man who always had a calculated answer didn't. She flattered me. When I felt invisible to you. Elena blinked, stunned by the rawness in his tone. So you burned our marriage to feel seen? She made me feel like I still had control, he said. You made me feel like I was losing it. A long, suffocating beat passed between them. Rain tapped against the windows like guilt made audible. Elena crossed the room and picked up the old prototype of Neuralark, the one they had first designed together. She ran a hand over its sleek surface. I never stopped believing in what we built, she said, her voice softer now. But I had to choose between saving the work or saving you. And you chose the work. I chose myself. Lucien's throat bobbed. And now? She looked at him, eyes unreadable. Now I have to decide if I still believe there's anything worth saving between us. He took a step closer. Too close. Elena, his voice broke. I never stopped loving you. Her heart thudded. Her breath hitched, but she didn't move. Don't, she whispered. Don't what? Don't say the right thing just because you're losing. Lucien shook his head. This isn't strategy. This is me, realizing I made the biggest mistake of my life. Elena felt her armor cracking. The way he looked at her, like a man who had finally understood the price of his ambition, unnerved her. But pain had taught her not to trust pretty words. "I don't need you to realize anything," she said slowly. "I need you to let me go, Lucien. Unless you're willing to fight for more than just your image." He reached out, gently brushing a strand of hair from her face. His touch still felt familiar, still dangerous. "I don't want my image," he said. "I want my wife." She stepped back. "Then prove it. Not with apologies. Not with flowers or interviews. Prove it where it hurts, in the boardroom, in the courts, in the code. If you really see me now, Lucien, don't just say it. Stand beside me. Or stand down." Their eyes locked. And then, without another word, she turned and walked to her bedroom. He didn't follow. Hours later, she stood on her balcony once again, watching his black car vanish into the wet streets below. Her fingers tightened on the rail. Her body trembled, not from cold, but from the weight of something she hadn't felt in months. Hope and fear. Elena didn't believe in coincidences. Not anymore. So when she received a private email titled Confidential, Project Reallocation Logs from a blocked sender at 2:14 a.m., her hands froze above the keyboard. Her apartment was silent, save for the low hum of Neuralark's prototype resting in sleep mode beside her. Her breath caught as she clicked. Attached was a zip file. Inside it, timestamped video footage from the Lu Dynamics server room. Audio transcripts. Access logs. At first, she didn't understand what she was looking at. Then her eyes locked on a file labeled override_authorization_Lu__Zapak. She opened the log, and everything unraveled. 1 month before the launch. Footage. Serena, late at night, in the server room. Lucien's voice, distorted through the security audio. "I want her out of this, Serena. I need full control." "Then let me do what I do best," Serena whispered. Elena scrolled through the attached logs. Serena hadn't just taken credit for Elena's work. She had illegally copied Elena's emotional core AI from the prototype server. And she hadn't done it alone. Lucien had authorized the override. He hadn't just stood by. He'd handed her life's work over. Knowingly, she stumbled back from her desk, as if the truth physically struck her. Every softened apology from Lucien. Every whispered, "I made mistakes." Every lingering glance, like he still deserved her. It was all a game. A carefully timed performance to reel her back in just before she burned the empire down. Her throat closed with rage. She picked up her phone, heart thudding, and called him. He answered on the second ring. "Elena?" "Don't speak," she said, her voice ice. "You lied to me. Again." There was a pause. "What?" "You knew. You authorized Serena's override. You watched her steal my neural framework like it was a file transfer, and you let me believe she tricked you too." Lucien went quiet. Then, "Elena, let me explain. Explain how you handed my soul over to a woman who couldn't code a sentiment analysis algorithm if her life depended on it." His breath caught. "I trusted you," she said, her voice cracking. "Even after everything. I still believed some part of you hadn't completely rotted from power." "Elena, it wasn't what you think." "I think," she said, every word now a weapon. "You're afraid. You saw what I built. You knew I could bury both of you, if I wanted." "Elena." "And now," she whispered, "now I will." She hung up. The next morning, headlines exploded. Leaked footage exposes CEO's role in AI theft. Whistleblower confirms override of Neuralark under CEO Lucien Lu's authority. Elena Zhao files motion for full IP reclamation and damages. In the Lu Dynamics boardroom, Serena threw the folder across the table. "You told me you deleted those logs." Lucien stood at the head of the table, unmoving. "I thought they were scrubbed." "She's destroying us, Lucien." "No," he said slowly. "I did that." Silence fell. The board stared, scandal-struck. Investors threatened to pull out. One by one, shareholders demanded emergency meetings. Serena's position was terminated within hours. Legal notices were served by noon. And Elena? Elena sat in a press studio downtown, her posture straight, her tone calm. I didn't want revenge, she told the interviewer. I just wanted my name, my work, my voice. But now, the reporter asked. Elena smiled slightly. Now I want justice. And I'm not afraid of how loud it gets. That night, Lucien stood outside her door again. This time, she didn't open it. He didn't knock. He just stood there, rain once again pouring around him, suit soaked, hair matted, broken. Inside, Elena pressed her back against the door. Eyes closed. Heart trembling. Not from love. From the weight of finally letting go. The courtroom was glass and marble, but it felt like a battlefield. Elena sat upright at the plaintiff's table, dressed in a navy blue pantsuit, sleek, crisp, and absolutely unshakable. Her fingers were steady on the desk, but inside, her pulse roared like a war drum. Across the room, Lucien sat at the defense table, jaw set tight, his once unshakable charisma now a hollow mask. He looked older than he had weeks ago, drained, silent, alone. The judge cleared his throat. We are here today to finalize the preliminary injunction filed by Ms. Zhao regarding intellectual property theft, data manipulation, and misrepresentation of authorship in the NeuralArc project. Every camera in the courtroom flickered to life. It was all being streamed live. Tech journalists, public networks, industry analysts. The entire world was watching. Flashback. 1 year ago. A rooftop dinner. String lights overhead. Lucien had slipped a small velvet box across the table. Elena, he'd whispered, whatever we build, I want to build it with you. She hadn't realized then that he meant the empire, not the marriage. The court proceedings moved quickly, evidence laid out like scalpel wounds. Timestamp server logs. Internal emails. The override command with Lucien's digital signature. Elena didn't flinch once. Lucien's lawyer stood up, voice smooth. Mr. Liu would like to make a final statement. The judge nodded. Proceed. Lucien rose. Every camera in the room turned to him. He looked directly at Elena.
And began.
I built a billion-dollar company on vision, risk, and the trust of the people around me, he said. But I made the mistake of believing power meant I didn't need to earn that trust anymore. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I betrayed the one person who helped me dream it all in the first place. Not just as a colleague, not just as a partner, but as a woman who trusted me with her mind and her heart. He turned to the judge. Your Honor, I don't contest her authorship. Or her ownership. I withdraw all claims.
Gasps.
The judge raised an eyebrow. You're relinquishing all stake in NeuralArc? Yes, Lucien said, voice shaking now. Because I don't deserve it. He looked back at Elena. I didn't just lose a project. I lost the only thing I couldn't buy back. And I accept that. Silence blanketed the courtroom. Elena stared at him, stunned. There was no smugness in his voice. No spin. Just exhaustion and something that might have once been love. Later, outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Elena, do you have a statement? What do you think of Lucien stepping down? Will you forgive him? She stopped on the steps, faced the flashing lights. My name is Elena Zhao. I'm the sole creator of NeuralArc, she said. But this story isn't about revenge. It's about reclaiming truth. And never letting someone else decide your worth. The crowd applauded. Lucien stood at the bottom of the stairs, watching. He didn't approach. She descended slowly, her eyes locking with his just once. He opened his mouth. Elena. No, she said softly, stepping past him. But then, something in her stilled. She turned back just for a moment. You were right, Lucien. You don't deserve NeuralArc. Her voice dropped, so only he could hear. But a part of me still hopes you figure out how to deserve something again. Something real. She didn't wait for a response. She disappeared into the waiting car, doors shutting with finality. Lucien stood in the rain again. But this time, he didn't wait for her to come back. He just let her go. 3 months later, Elena stood on the stage alone. The lights were blinding. Cameras clicked like hail. A sea of faces stared up at her, waiting, investors, engineers, media, dreamers. Behind her, on the screen, the new NeuralArc logo pulsed, sleek, fluid, unmistakably hers. NeuralArc isn't just about artificial intelligence, she began, voice steady. It's about emotional intelligence, empathy, justice, and rebuilding trust in technology, in leadership, and in ourselves. Applause swelled. She paused, her eyes skimming the front row. An empty seat sat where he would have been. Earlier that day, she received a letter. Not an email, not a text. A letter, sealed in navy paper with his handwriting she still recognized. Elena, they offered me a seat on a new board in Singapore. I declined. I've stepped away from tech for now. There are things I need to rebuild. Parts of me I need to reprogram. No one tells you ambition can hollow you out until you're already echoing inside. But if I've learned anything, it's that the most powerful systems aren't built in labs. They're built in hearts.
You taught me that.
No more standing in your light. You've earned every beam of it. Lucian. She folded the letter quietly and placed it in the drawer of her desk. A clean break, but not an erased one. Back on stage, she tapped her mic. One last thing. The room leaned in. I was betrayed, she said, not dramatically, but with clear strength, by someone I loved. And I survived it, not just because I'm strong, but because I remembered who I was before he forgot me.
Gasps.
A few knowing murmurs. I'm not here to bury him, or forgive him. I'm here to say this. No one has the right to rewrite your story while your hands are still on the keyboard. The applause was thunderous. Some stood. Some wept. Later, that evening, in her office overlooking the skyline, Elena removed her heels and leaned against the glass wall, a glass of wine in hand. NeuralArc's live feed glowed across the room, the AI now fully active, monitoring user interactions with unprecedented emotional precision. A soft voice echoed from the system. Her AI, her voice, digitized. How are you feeling tonight, Elena? She smiled. Free. Cut to a beach in Southeast Asia. Lucian walked barefoot through the surf, no suit, no title, no screens. Just silence. Just breath. He pulled a notebook from his satchel and opened it. On the first page, in clean ink, he wrote, New project. Start with nothing. Build with truth. Learn to listen before speaking. Love if possible, not to keep, but to grow. He looked at the ocean for a long time, then began to write. Final scene. Back in the city, a news ticker scrolled across a giant screen above a crowded street. NeuralArc 2.0 officially launches globally. Founder Elena Zhao becomes youngest recipient of the World Tech Ethics Award. And beneath it, a smaller line. Former CEO Lucian Liu, spotted mentoring local entrepreneurs in Jakarta, declines all comment. Elena stepped out of a black car, surrounded by her new team, her face calm, certain. Someone from the crowd shouted, You're unstoppable, Elena. She paused.
Turned. Smiled faintly.
No, she said. I'm just not afraid anymore. She turned and walked forward. Not back. Never again.